Hello all, welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch, Saturday, January 18th, 2025. Brr, this is what I'm watching. Arctic air is going to dominate the U.S. here for the next several days, and it is going to feed the development of not one, but two winter storms in the east and in the south. Here's a surface map review, and Arctic air certainly dominates. I won't start there, though. We'll go up to the northeastern U.S., where it's still relatively warm. Southerly winds across New England, New York State, into Pennsylvania, with temperatures at or slightly above freezing in most of those areas. Some winter precipitation occurring. You can see the little snow symbols there in parts of western Pennsylvania, but there's also rain mixed in with that as well. And we're just basically talking about this area here, where there's still some precipitation occurring. The Arctic front is visible as that cold front there on the left side of that box. That is going to rule, and that is what's going to help feed the next winter storm that we'll talk about here in just a second. Scrolling on down, there's the Arctic front, just passed through Indianapolis. It's approaching right around the Memphis area now. Reinforcing shot of cold air into Missouri, into Kansas, and Oklahoma now. Very obvious here with strong, gusty, northerly winds, temperatures well below freezing, teens showing up in that part of the world. We'll review, go north here in just a second. In the southeast, we have a low pressure area developing, and that's going to impact the eastern seaboard with snow here over the next 2 days. A warm front, stationary front, cool front complex down there. This is all relatively mild air, though, of course, 60s, lots of moisture, so pretty good rain showing up in that part of the world. We'll zoom out a little bit, go to the west here and up to the north. The center of the high hasn't even reached into the U.S. yet, but we have a large ridge of high pressure just pushing down in this direction here, which is going to set us up for a very, very cold period, as you've no doubt heard. But you can already see temperatures are very, very cold. We're looking at sub-zero readings all through here with the wind pushing down relentlessly. Wind chills far below that, of course. Current temperature is, looks like 6 in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, -4 in Fargo. And so those are the kinds of readings we're going to get used to over the next couple of days for sure. Out west, we have this weather system here that's producing some winter weather advisories. I'll show you that in a minute. And in the upper basin, northwest, high pressure generally in control, but very chilly with temperatures in the 30s along coastal areas of Washington and Oregon. And then down in South California, the Santa Ana winds have all but let up, with dew points forecast to rise there and onshore flow helping that situation out quite a bit. Here's a look at the United States. This is the visible satellite loop. Lots of cloud cover in the eastern U.S. As you can see, a surge of moisture here. This is going to set the stage when you combine with the Arctic air for some snow. We'll certainly detail that. Much of the western United States is pretty quiet. We do have a little area out here in Colorado that has some winter weather. And other than that, it's a fairly dry weather pattern. Let's take a look at the upper level flow. This is a large area of steering flow that has been carved out in the central part of the United States. You don't see this too often in the winter, but when you see it, you definitely get a lot of cold air penetrating southward. Basically, it ends up being cold up here and warm south of this polar jet stream. So this just encourages cold air to pour down into the base of this. And we're certainly seeing that. In fact, if I switch to the same satellite view, but this is the current temperature plot. Well, current as of late Saturday morning anyway. You can clearly see the 32-degree line is covering a pretty good chunk of the north and the northwestern U.S. And that is going to continue. That's this area here. That's going to continue to press on south with this huge surge of air, not really stoppable, going all the way down to the Gulf Coast. We'll just first of all stop over here in Colorado, take a look at some advisories in effect for some snow, mostly on the lead side of the Rockies, but also some of the higher elevations of Colorado here, and even a little bit of a winter storm warning there in extreme northeastern New Mexico. Otherwise, the two storms I was talking about, storm number one, this is kind of another way of looking at it. So this is where the low pressure track is forecast to develop. The one in black is what the Weather Prediction Center, our U.S. National Weather Center, is thinking what their opinion of where the low will be, basically. Now, the little dots around that are basically just what the model outputs are saying. So when you look at something like this, it's proper to kind of, take a blend, and that's what most forecasters do. But they may use some advanced wisdom, like, for instance, this low is not really in the center where all those green dots are plotted. But then we go further out. But, I want to make it clear that this particular storm, the first one, is a more classic low pressure development. So you'll have a cyclogenesis, basically, development of a low, and that's the days and the times where it's forecast to track. And if we take a look at what the model blend snow total will be, by model blend, there are different models that run. One way to kind of smooth this out and come up with sort of a consensus snowfall is to blend them together. Okay, so this is through Tuesday, basically. So you can see a pretty good snow developing. Parts of the mountainous areas of West Virginia slated to get almost 5 inches of snow. A large area of 1 to 4 inches of snow here through Pennsylvania, Northern Virginia, Maryland. And then you start getting up, and when this low starts to intensify, and from Albany southward into parts of northern New Jersey, much of Massachusetts, southern New England, we have half-foot totals showing up in that part of the world. So that's going to be an interesting snowstorm for them. Winter Storm Watch has been posted out ahead of that. In those areas I just indicated, this will be a coastal snow, it looks like, for cities like Portland and Maine. And a winter storm warning where you saw some of that heavier precipitation there in Maryland, and winter weather, and also West Virginia, and then winter weather advisories in advance of that snow getting a little more intense. So storm number 2 is taking shape. This is the GFS forecast of precipitation type and also isobars. Is forecast to develop here in Texas. And you can already see this is the map that is forecast to be correct at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. And you're seeing a band of snow and also a band of sleet, maybe some freezing rain in there. Now, this system is more of a trough of low pressure. There's no definite low. This is more of precipitation overrunning and a trough moving through the deep south. So let's keep that in mind. We'll take a look at 2 snow forecasts. This is, again, a model blend. This is Tuesday, Wednesday, so today is Saturday, 1, 2, 3. This is still subject to change, but this has been showing up pretty consistent in terms of where the snow will be. I'm not exactly sure the totals will be right this far out, but you can kind of get an idea. There's an axis of snow here from East Texas through the heart of Louisiana, even into southern Louisiana, continuing into southern Mississippi. If we just shift that to the east, same data, I just moved the point. So this is kind of forecast to move up. This is not the same storm as number 1, so it's a slightly different situation. And one thing I'll mention, and just for information purposes, some of the models are hinting at ice developing here. Again, way too far out to be able to know if that's an accurate description. And in fact, anything along the southern end of this could, in theory, according to just watching how winter weather develops, be ice. But so far, nothing to indicate anything huge. But the snowfall has been showing up as a consistent thing. Now, let's take a look at some Arctic air data here. We'll start with wind chill, actually. This is fairly crazy. We have in southern Canada Monday morning a minus 50-degree wind chill. Minus 40-degree wind chills will be common through North Dakota, parts of Minnesota. If we look at the wind chill on Tuesday morning, not much changes. Those same areas, minus 30s, minus 40s, but the wind chills in the deep south will be below freezing. Lots of single digits from below zero wind chills across much of the country still on Tuesday morning. High temperatures, that's another way, of course, of looking at how cold and miserable we are, but this is the high temperature map. This is the GFS version of it. South Florida escaping all this, but the rest of us cold. The freezing line will be well into the deep south. Much of the northern U.S. will be below zero, and single digits in 20s and even teens through the heartland of the U.S. So very, very cold temperatures. This is the way the surface map is forecast for Tuesday morning. This is the developing storm in Texas here. Otherwise, much of the country, Great Lake snows, lake effect snows, by the way, will still be going on as the fetch will be right around all over that water. I didn't highlight that, but that is still going to be a possibility. But the Arctic air starts to move, and by Wednesday, it'll be chilly in the southeast, but warming across the plains. And for a change, the highs that are coming in now will not be of Arctic origin, but they'll be of Pacific origin. So they're cooler, but they're not rooted in the Arctic. Now this is, but actually it's going to get shunted away this way on Thursday morning. Again, kind of a Pacific weaker cool front moving through the Midwest. This is just kind of dissipating by Friday. Warm air surges coming in here, so it's looking like a milder pattern, at least as we head toward the late part of the week and into Saturday. High pressure does settle over the south, but not nearly as frigid as the one that's heading there now. And again, more milder patterns of air with a few mostly dry fronts, not a lot of precipitation forecast beyond those east coast and south storms over about the next 6 or 7 days. Well, that does it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember to like it, and it's a YouTube thing. Like and subscribe if you remember. We'll see you on the next edition of Weather to Watch.